So, Facebook crashed. Not on us, on the whole wide world. And for once, something recently was not President Biden's fault. But what does it tell us about Facebook and about politics? It's Rob Nelson Live. Hey, I'm Rob Nelson. I used to host a show on Fox, and now I do a digital live stream called @Rob Nelson Live. And my whole mission is to figure out how, in this time of division, we can find common ground.
Speech, and they're not allowed to do that anymore.
I understand what you're talking about.
They be focused on rebuilding California.
Oh, it's so true. Come on. This is where this gets real. He says your headings. I wouldn't want to be black and driving in a car. Right. Point there, right? Some of what's in this music, you can't sanitize it. Hey everybody, welcome to the show. It's Rob Nelson Live. Crafty, quick question. Are we good on we're good on Reddit? Excellent. We were just making sure our Reddit stream was up and going along with our Facebook streams. So welcome to Tuesday night, guys. A lot going on right now in the world, but let's start with Facebook. Facebook crashed. It crashed all over the world. It went down like a big old jetliner. And it's interesting, right? I mean, I'm not a big conspiracy guy, but it crashed like right after the whistleblower came out and said Facebook knows that it's messing with kids. We'll talk about her in a minute. But it is interesting, right, that the next day Facebook crashes and they weren't hacked. They're like, we had internal issues. I'm not a techie, but we had all kinds of internal issues and it hit our own servers and it shut everything down. I'm just saying, is it possible? I mean, anything's possible. And don't put anything past powerful corporations who have powerful interests. Is it possible? Facebook, when a whistleblower is coming out and saying Facebook has data, studies, evidence that they know that Twitter didn't crash, that they know that Instagram is bad for teenagers, that they know that Facebook creates massive polarization and division, and they keep doing it because it makes them more money. Is it just possible that the next day Facebook tanks its own internal servers? Why? To kind of go, hey world, don't forget how much you depend on us. Don't forget how much you all billions of you use Facebook. I'm not actually being facetious. It certainly is bizarrely coincidental that the next day it has its biggest outage ever. And it's not a hack. It's just something went wrong in the systems. It's like when people get their accounts taken down. Oh, sorry, we didn't mean to take your account down. It was somehow just an accident, which always cracks me up because it's always like an accident with conservatives. You ever notice that? Like, and again, because I know you think I'm conservative and I'm actually not. I mean, I'm conservative on some things, liberal on other things, but it is interesting because it's never like you never hear the liberal activists who got their account taken down accidentally. But you always hear like Senator Tom Cotton, no, it wasn't Senator Tom Cotton. It was got his account taken down. Like, they get there. It was a candidate. It was a candidate running the military guy. So he's a former vet, and he was running, and his account got taken down. And then they put it back up, but they didn't give him a reason. They just said, "Oh, it was an accident. We didn't mean to take it down." I don't know how much Facebook does. It's accidental. Facebook does stuff. Was it accidental that it just had a malfunction a day later? Or was it a way of saying, let's not forget, you all use Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, every single day, billions of you. So before you come after us, oops, look what happens when we go away. I'm just saying. Let's talk about Frances Haugen, the whistleblower. First of all, interesting, right? She wasn't a high-level exec. She wasn't a C-suite executive. She was a product manager, basically. And hey, Apprehensive Fly, good to see you. And she comes out, and she didn't work there very long at Facebook, less than 2 years. And she comes out and basically, throws Facebook under the bus with everything it's been doing. Citadel Security's fault. Yeah, it may be a way. I gotta put my glasses on. Away document 3648. That's an interesting name. And I'm partly being sarcastic that Facebook would tank its own thing. It is rather bizarre, though. You have to admit that the day the whistleblower comes out, the next day Facebook goes dark around the world and its apps, Instagram and WhatsApp, leaving what's that? Millions of people, billions without access. Just saying. But the whistleblower. So she comes out and she points out, like, to me, the stunningly obvious. Everyone's like, oh my God, see, Facebook knew. Of course Facebook knew. Yeah, which part of Facebook didn't know? And then people keep going, see, it's like big tobacco. Big tobacco knew cigarettes were killing people. They kept it hidden. I mean, what planet are you on if you don't know that Facebook, the algorithms in most social media platforms enhance polarization and division? I mean, do you not, maybe you don't ever look at Instagram. Maybe you don't follow anything in pop culture. Maybe you don't know teenagers or have teenagers. Maybe you've never observed teenagers. They're addicted to Instagram. You see and hear all the time how people's, there's a whole trend where young women get plastic surgery and it's called an Instagram look. Surgeons have come to nickname it that, like that they try to mold their bodies, their attitudes, their actions. The process of being liked or disliked. Heck, look at your own life when people come after you and bully you on social media, when you say something, do something, and you get hated on, or you don't get likes. People are like, oh, well, man, am I a bad person? Or, well, why didn't anybody like my stuff? Why didn't more people watch it? Why is everybody not liking it? I mean, to suggest that Facebook didn't know, like, of course they knew. It's really not big news. Now, she's revealing actual proof, documents, memos, internal correspondence that shows Facebook knew. Okay, guys, I didn't need that. I didn't need all that to know that Facebook knew. And I mean, it's so plainly in front of us. And, it was a movie, The Social Dilemma, like you watched, people like the former head of growth at Facebook. I mean, they all go on in the documentary. They're all people from high level tech people who were part of big social platforms, creating them, growing them, a high level, not like this person, not like Francis Hugan, not like just a mid-level person, like high level, saying these algorithms are designed to mess with us. They're messing with our brains. The artificial intelligence is designed to show you what you want to see. And reinforce what you like, reinforce what you see by showing it to you more and more and more. So the more you see it, the more apprehensive fly. I can't, man, but I like it every time. Grover Cleveland. No, I think Mike Zuckerberg is. But what I will say, apprehensive fly, is Joe Biden is not responsible. So, but the reality is that of course they know this goes on, and we've all known it goes on, and it's created Tim Cook of Apple loves to point out how Facebook's algorithms literally create division, and again, because you see what you like, and it reinforces showing you more of what you like. And they found that if you see enough times what you like reinforced over and over, what you like over and over, and that's all you see, and that's what you're given, you start believing it's all that's true. You think you are seeing everything. And if you are given information that counters that, you reject it, no matter how factually accurate it is, no matter how many reference notes, how much you can prove it. Go, see, look, this is true. And we see that on both sides. You see that with people who think Trump's still president, who insist the election was completely stolen. Like, it doesn't matter how many times you could show them documents that wasn't what happened. It didn't happen. I'm not arguing whether there was any fraud or not, but the election wasn't stolen. It doesn't matter. You could show people tons of information. And the same on the other side of things. You could show people all the data you want, around critical race theory or Black Lives Matter issues or the protests. It wouldn't matter. Like, no, they were primarily peaceful. It doesn't matter how many data you showed that they weren't, this or that, right? Or police brutality. People who argue the number of blacks killed by cops is not statistically that high. Wouldn't matter. People are like, I see it every day. You see it when it's highlighted. My point is, the algorithms reinforce our biases, and they've proven that if your bias is reinforced long enough, it becomes not just your bias, it becomes your version of reality. Nothing will change it. That polarization is now being baked in, as is the damage to young people, teenagers, through social media platforms. Can we undo it? I doubt it. Can we stopgap? Can we fix things going forward? Maybe if we think about how. But suddenly, revelation of mid-level person at Facebook, who, by the way, had her own agenda, right? This is a crazy irony. She was pissed that Facebook was not taking down more what she called misinformation around the election. and that she thinks they let up on it because they wanted, as soon as the election was over, they wanted to get back into the money-making groove. And that's what led to January 6th, the insurrection, which wasn't an insurrection. It was a small riot that fled into the Capitol and was, as I love to say, never going to stop democracy from working. They were back in session 2 hours later. That's, again, people don't want to see that. You can see all the videos, all the evidence. Here's the video of the cop asking the guy, you all right, man? You all right, dude? Like, you never know. You'd think they were literally like firing at each other, like warfare. Not saying it's okay what happened, saying it wasn't the insurrection worse than Pearl Harbor. But again, she was pissed at that. She felt they should have banned more information. Conservatives think they're already getting banned. Liberals think they're not banning enough. She was pissed at Facebook for not banning more. And she then, at that point, called them out and said, I'm finding research and evidence. And again, my main point, why people are shocked. Why are people shocked? What is shocking about that? That's like, duh, of course they know. They are making tons and tons and tons of money on it. That's what these platforms do. We use them and we abuse them, and they make a fortune off of us. Okay, let's talk about something else for a second here. Biden, the debt ceiling. Republicans, the debt ceiling. Democrats, the debt ceiling. And the giant infrastructure the infrastructure package and the giant $3.5 trillion spending bill. I talked about the other two, the latter two. Let's talk about the debt ceiling for a minute. There's a whole issue with our debt ceiling, right? We hit our debt. We've gone up. Our debt just keeps going up and up and up. We're in trillions and trillions and trillions of debt, meaning money we spent that we don't have. And we just keep spending more. And it used to be Republicans did, not anymore. Like Trump administration, they pushed it up another 7 trillion. They just keep piling debt on. That's real. It's a drag on the U.S. economy. But even worse than that debt is if you default on that debt. So every time they want to spend more money, they raise the debt ceiling. Right now, they're in an impasse. Democrats want to raise the debt ceiling, and Republicans don't. Here's what President Biden had to say about it.
A lot of Republicans in Congress, what they're doing today is so reckless and dangerous in my view. Raising the debt limit comes down to paying what we already owe, what has already been acquired, not anything new. It starts with a simple truth. The United States is a nation that pays its bills and always has. There is a process that I understand the Republican leader is willing to initiate, go through, that would require literally up to hundreds of votes. It's unlimited number of votes having nothing directly to do with the debt limit. Could be for everything from Ethiopia to anything else that has nothing to do with the debt limit. And it's fraught with all kinds of potential danger for miscalculation.
I gotta say, guys, he is the most boring person to listen to. It's literally painful. I mean, when he's reading off a prompter, it's still bad. But, when he's talking unscripted, it's a little better. It's a lot better, actually. But it's so painfully hard. And this brings me back to the least charismatic president ever. By the way, FYI, I'm going to piss some people off of this, but Joe Biden's presidency is going to be remembered as one of the worst. He's going to be right up there with Jimmy Carter, one of the worst. X86 BSD, right on target. Thanks, Crafty. Pull that back down, but thank you. They've got to start writing. Yes, 100%. I've argued for years we need to stop spending what we don't have. It is a drag. It is a drag on future generations. I mean, years ago, I cut my teeth in politics starting Lead or Leave, which was, I'm a Gen Xer, it was the biggest political movement since the 60s. And, all kinds of young celebrities at the time got involved. And it was in the 90s, Clinton administration. We had Democrats and Republicans, and we raised a ruckus. We were on 60 Minutes. But our whole thing was, among other things, sustainability. We had, issues around access to voting, around environmental sustainability, rebuilding our infrastructure, fixing our broken education system, crime, all the issues that still exist today, 25 years later. But the deficit was the core one we started on. And it was like, you are basically taking a giant credit card, spending it, and passing it on to the next generation to pay for. It's all debt, 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 debt. No one would ever be allowed to live so recklessly, literally spending so far beyond what you have and just going, we'll pay for it later. We'll pay for it later. And we keep accruing interest on that debt, just like any other debt. The U.S. government incurs interest on its debt, and people buy our debt. China owns tons of our debt, and you keep paying on it. The interest on the national debt is astronomical. The debt is the total accumulation of what we owe. The deficit is what we add on each year. We keep adding on massive yearly deficits, creating a bigger and bigger total national debt. We will never undo it. We will never get past it. But eventually there comes a reckoning. It affects the economy, and it affects future generations. We are screwing each new generation, handing them this astronomical amount of debt at trillions and trillions and trillions and trillions of debt. Just pass it on. Spend now, pay later. We'll be dead. You guys can pay for it. What a horrible thing to give to your kids and your grandkids. I've argued this for years, but here's the reality of what Joe Biden said and didn't say. And what pisses me off is people are no longer telling the truth. They're just making up selective lies. I know a lot of people say Fox News done that for years. Okay, sure. CNN's doing it every single day now too. Joe Biden, the Mr. Transparent, I'm going to tell the truth, sorry, I got caught up by apprehensive fly. I don't think Carter was a great president. Well, that's another episode. They tell half truths. Biden was supposed to be the truth teller. He was supposed to not be lying all the time. All he does is lie at this point, and lied about Afghanistan, and lied about the drone strike. That they didn't know who they knew who they killed minutes later, and they pretended for days that they killed terrorists. And lied about what happened in Afghanistan. He lied about what the general said. He's lied about the $3 trillion thing, saying it's going to cost $0. It's paid for. He said that again yesterday. It's paid for. How is it paid for? Did you pay it in advance and I missed that? No, it's paid for because we're going to pay for it. We're going to raise taxes to pay for it. We're going to do things. That's what they always say. We're going to pay for it. It's not paid for. It's not paid for at all. It's not like they have $3 trillion sitting around and it's paid for. It's all going to be future debt. So when Biden says Republicans are standing in the way, he's right. They are definitely standing in the way. They are refusing to help Democrats raise the debt ceiling because Biden's not telling the truth about one thing. The debt is not merely paying for what we already spent. The debt ceiling isn't just covering what we already spent. It's covering what we already spent and what we are planning to spend. They need to raise the debt ceiling to spend $4 trillion more. And yes, also true, to pay for what we already spent. Both things are true. And the reason they want Republicans to join them in the vote is because if they do it in a normal way with a normal vote and Republicans join in, they need 60 votes and Republicans join in, they don't have to say how much they are raising the debt ceiling. They can just raise it, open-ended. That's why it's not really just about paying for what we spent. It's paying for anything they want to spend after, and there's no number on it. The way in which Democrats could do this, the second part of that clip when President Biden says Republicans are asking us to do a very difficult, convoluted process. It's called reconciliation. It is a little convoluted, but it's the exact same process Democrats are using to pass their $3.5 trillion or $2 trillion or whatever it will be, giant, Build Back Better plan. They're using reconciliation to do that. Reconciliation, not to get too in the weeds, but reconciliation allows them to get around needing 60 votes, to get around having a filibuster. It allows them to just get 50 votes. Well, 51, but they have the tiebreaker. 51 votes. But reconciliation also requires something the Democrats don't want to do when it comes to raising the debt ceiling. So Joe Biden's lying that it's so complicated and it's days and amendments. Sure, there's all that. They'll do that in the reconciliation on the other bill too. The reason Democrats don't want to use reconciliation is because by parliamentary procedural rules in the Senate, they must now claim an amount they want that debt limit to be. They can't just raise it open-ended. They got to set a number. And if that number really was just to cover what we've already spent, they'd say, oh, we spent this much, 7 trillion more here from Trump. We're adding 7 trillion more. But they want to spend the extra 3, 4, 5 trillion or whatever else they want to spend. So they're going to have to raise it for that. They don't want to A, do that. B, there's a lot of more moderate Democrats who don't want to have to go home to their constituents and say, we raised the debt ceiling and we put a number on it. We raised it 15 trillion more dollars. They don't want to say it. The BS, the lie that bugs me is this whole idea that Democrats can't do it. Democrats control the White House. They have razor thin majorities, but they have majorities in the Senate and the House. They have the votes to do everything themselves. Should Republicans cooperate? In the climate we're in, don't expect anybody to cooperate. Did Democrats cooperate with Republicans when Trump was president? Not once, not one single time. Don't expect, the COVID bill was the one exception. Don't expect cooperation. But in this case, don't blame the other side. You've got the votes. We elected a Democratic president, Democratic majorities in both houses of Congress. We gave you the entire government. Don't blame your opponents for not helping you at this point. Do your friggin' job. Go do what you've been empowered to do. You have the majorities. You have the votes. If you can't get it together within your own party, that's on you, not on Republicans. It's not Republicans' job to come in and fix the Democratic agenda, especially not in the climate we're in. Any more than Democrats were going to come in and help Trump. They did everything to kill him, take him out of office, destroy his agenda, get rid of him, along with the media's help. Don't expect Republicans to help, first of all. Secondly, you shouldn't be asking for it. You got given the government. Do it, fix it, make it work, and be honest. Be transparent. Tell me how much you're going to raise that debt ceiling. Don't lie to me, Joe Biden. Don't give me half truth. Tell me the full truth. The full truth is it pays for what we already spent, and it pays for what we're going to spend. It opens the door for us to spend more as long as we stay under that ceiling. Can't spend over that ceiling. Don't tell me your $3.5 trillion is paid for. It's not. Don't tell me it costs $0. It costs $3 trillion. Don't make up fancy numbers and things and we're going to tax and get it. Maybe you will. You don't have it right now. Guys, I paid for this. I bought it. The meal's all done. It's all on me. I bought the house, everything. Really? You paid for it? Yeah, it's all done. Where's the money? Oh, you'll get it later. No, who'd do that? Who'd go for that? No, it's like, pay me. I did in the future. Okay, I don't live in the future. I live today. The dishonesty drives me crazy. By the way, both sides do, of course. Democrats love to point out that Mitch McConnell voted numerous times to raise the debt ceiling for Trump. Of course he did. He's a Republican. What Biden doesn't point out, because in that speech you didn't hear the part where he says McConnell voted for it 3 times. What he doesn't point out is he himself voted against it 3 times when Republicans had the majorities when he was a senator. President Biden, then Senator Biden, voted against raising the debt ceiling 3 different times over 3 different years when Republicans controlled Congress and he was a Democratic senator. And yes, Mitch McConnell voted to do it when he had a Republican president. Both sides vote for or against depending on who's in control. But it's such hypocrisy to point out Mitch McConnell voted to do it and not point out you yourself, Mr. President, voted not to do it 3 times when Republicans had both houses of Congress. You yourself voted 3 times to do the very thing you're telling Mitch McConnell not to do. And that's hypocritical. And CNN parroted it today. I watched Erin Burnett and literally said the same thing. She's like, Republicans are making Democrats go to all the links to come up with finding a way to do this. She doesn't point out there's an easy way to do it. It's called reconciliation, what they're doing on their $3.5 trillion bill. It's a little more complex, but it mostly is complex because you got to say how big you're going to make the ceiling and they don't want to. Give me all the facts and point it out again that Mitch McConnell has voted for it, and how offensive it is to vote against it. Doesn't bother to point out that Biden voted against it 3 times when Republicans had it. Both sides do this. Both sides play this stupid political game, and we get screwed. Democrats have Congress. Democrats have the White House. Democrats are in control of the U.S. government, razor thin or not. We gave them all the power. It's their job to execute it. It's their job to exercise it. And to execute and make good government. It's not Republicans' job in this climate. It's just not going to happen, nor does it need to happen. And if Democrats can't do that, they're going to get booted out of office in 2022. This is a game of chicken with both sides going, I'm not going to blink. Mitch McConnell saying, I'm not going to blink. I'm not going to help you do it. Chuck Schumer, the Senate Democratic leader, and Biden are saying, we're not going to blink. You're going to help us do it. The U.S. markets are going to go boom, 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 right up until one side blinks. I don't think Mitch McConnell's going to blink. because I think he's going to go, look, if you tank the economy, because if they default, the economy is it's going to be like, we just got like a little earthquake, maybe a big one. And I think Mitch McConnell is betting that if we default, Democrats are going to get blamed for it, because they're going to argue, you guys had all the power. What did you need us for? Sure, Democrats will say they did it, but people are like, we gave you all the levers of government, guys. So we gave you Congress and the White House, both houses. It's your job to do it. So I think Chuck Schumer is going to blink, and I think they're going to either create a nuclear option that allows them to somehow get back to just needing 50 votes without reconciliation, or they're going to have to go through it and say how much they're going to raise it. And they will probably raise it. Things do sort of end up working out somehow. I think the Democrats will eventually get their big bill through. It won't be $3.5 trillion. Maybe it'll be $2 trillion, Although even that, again, people are not blinking, Senator Manchin's like, I won't sign something that has the Hyde Amendment in it. Forget about the numbers. The Hyde Amendment that prohibits federal funding for most abortions. And, you've got Democratic members of Congress, including the head of the Progressive Caucus, who's like, I will not go for this vote, even though I want all these things if the Hyde Amendment is in there. So which one of those is going to blink? But as I come to the end of this, Karen Keller, yes, reconciliation is a terrible name. It's obviously, guys, it's the name of a process, and it has to be connected to budgetary issues. You can only put things through reconciliation that have budget. That's why they couldn't do the voting rights stuff, the voting bill stuff through reconciliation. It has to have budgetary implications, and the parliamentarian decides what it is. But yeah, we're paying for all of it. It would be us paying for it. We paid for it in the past. We'll pay for it now. We'll pay for it in the future. And your kids and your grandkids will keep paying for it. Again, I want to point this out. We are screwing future generations by how we are handling this. It's not partisan. Both parties stay in power, spend, do what they want. Both parties are corrupt. Republicans and Democrats, they have been for a very long time. They're dysfunctional, they're corrupt, and they care more about keeping power amongst them than getting things done. Sure, they want their side to have more power, but at the end of the day, as long as we keep the system going, they're happy. There's some members trying to break that, but at the end of the day, overall, two corrupt parties that have for years and years and years put the best interest of the American people aside. Andrew Yang, presidential candidate, ran for mayor, just decided the other day, I'm no longer a Democrat. Not because he doesn't share what he says, I don't, but he's not becoming a Republican. He feels the Democratic Party isn't the right fit for him, but he's going to be start an independent party. We're going to see the rise of an independent party, maybe several. I've said it before, and people are like, it'll never work. It'll never make it. It will. It will eventually, a populist version, a real populist version. I think it will pull from the left and the right, believe it or not, and it will emerge because the two-party system and the two parties it's fractured, broken, corrupt, hypocritical. They both do the same thing, and then when the other side does it, they cry foul. And when they do it, it's fine. And they both switch places, and they do it shamelessly. And the media on both sides parrots their shamelessness and gives you half-truths. Let me play a quick thing before we wrap up here. Let me quick XP. That's a long quote. So it's a long one. I get it, but yes, it's true. They're not gonna kill the filibuster. I don't think they'll kill the filibuster. Thanks, Crafty. That's too long a one to read right now, but I don't think they'll kill the filibuster. But it's a great point you're making, X86 PSD. I think you're right. They won't kill the filibuster, although they may be threatening to do it. We'll see if they can pull it off. We'll see if moderates let them do it, if they can make a single exception to it. And everyone's getting all kind of creative on trying to do this. I understand the idea of keeping the filibuster. For those who don't get it, it allows you to force 60 votes to happen. It allows you to stall things out. It's been around forever. And again, same thing with that, right? Biden was criticizing it, but he used it all the time. Both sides use it, criticize it when the other side does it. It's to force there to be more compromise. And we are in a tricky time. We are going to need compromise. I'm just saying, don't expect it now. Don't expect Republicans to compromise with Democrats now after what happened for the last 4 years. I said that during the last 4 years. When the tables turn, you think Republicans are going to help you? And if Republicans win control in 2 years, you think Democrats will help them? No. And who gets screwed? All of us. Let me quickly, as we come to the end, I want to play a thing that happened. This is a sports-related thing, but it has a connection to it. Urban Meyer, the Jaguars coach, former, incredible college coach, and I'm in Jacksonville right now, Jaguars coach, was caught in a bar. He's married, has kids, caught in bar with women dancing up against him. Crafty, let's quick play the short video clip of the person who shot the video. Okay, there's Urban Meyer sitting on the bench and some woman dancing up in his crotch. Not his wife. He's actually out to dinner with his grandkids and maybe his kids. I don't know. But he says they got asked some people to go over and take pictures. He went to take pictures. Then they tried to get him to dance. He hung out. He didn't want to get out and dance, but he's sitting there and she's dancing up against him. I'm not judging. I don't know. Like, is it right, wrong? That's for him to decide, right? I mean, he's got his hands between his legs. Like, he's clearly kind of almost like just looking ahead, like not doing anything, not reacting. He's not pushing her away, but he's not wrapping around her. Who knows? You know, if I'm his wife, she's probably pretty pissed right now. But he effed up, regardless of if he intended, you know, if he was like getting into it or not, or if he was just like, oh, this is annoying, but I'm just going to sit here, or if he didn't care, or if he did like it. Regardless, he screwed up. He's the head coach of a football team, and it has standards, and he sets those standards for his players. He sets conduct for his players. Coaches are always like, guys, don't do stupid things. You know, told Trevor Lawrence, when you go to Vegas, you want to have a bachelor party, you better be careful. Like, you can't mess around. You hold the players to a high level of discipline. You're a new coach in a team that has a losing record. Last year, won one game. Now you're 0-4. You need to be setting an example. He screwed up, and he knows it. Here's a tiny bit of what he said.
Yeah, I just apologize to the team and staff and for being a distraction. Just stupid. That's not me, and that's.
So I just used a tiny clip of it, but he goes on, and you can listen to it if you want. But what I thought was interesting and why I pointed out is because he acknowledged I screwed up. I tell my players all the time, I as a coach, I was a distraction. I should never be a distraction. I should never have done what I did. You know, regardless if I intended it to this, I shouldn't have put myself in a position where that could happen. Even if he wasn't like getting into it, just putting himself in that position wasn't right. Distraction to the team, sends the wrong message. Again, that's all people are going to focus on. And he says, I was wrong. I screwed up. I apologize to the players. I apologize to the ownership of the team. You know, we're talking about it. I apologize to my family. I screwed up. I was wrong. Should never have let that happen. Why is that valuable? Because it's something we're missing. You know, did I hear any U.S. generals apologize for accidentally blowing up an entire family with a father who was a U.S. worker for a U.S. aid organization because they were in a hurry to try to get payback on a terrorist so they could make a good headline story? Did I hear any apologies? Don't think so. Did I hear President Biden apologize? I don't think so. He says the buck stopped with him, then blamed everybody else for everything that happened in Afghanistan. He was off on vacation when this whole thing happened with Afghanistan. He came back and then went right back on vacation. They had to come back again because it got even worse. Did I hear him apologize? Did I hear him say, I'm sorry, I screwed up? Doesn't matter why this withdrawal happened on my watch, and we weren't prepared for what happened. We are doing our best to fix it, but I screwed up because this happened and this shouldn't have happened, and people died. American soldiers died because of it, and tons of Afghan citizens died, dozens and dozens. Did he ever say that? No. He said, you know what? It was going to be chaotic no matter when we did it, and I stand by what I did. And then he continued to lie. The generals told me to do it. The generals told me this was the right move. Never said to keep troops. The generals come out the other day and say, we absolutely said to keep troops. Did Biden apologize? No, not once. Not once. Who does that remind me of? Let me think. Who never apologized? Oh, yeah, that guy, Trump. Never apologized for anything, did he? No, nothing was ever his fault. No, he was never sorry. I don't know. I didn't think we wanted to elect Trump light, as I've said before. Biden was supposed to be different. I didn't think he was going to be that different because I thought he's not a great leader. But I don't know. Did I expect him to be more honest, more truthful? Maybe some part of me hoped that he would be, but probably no. He's a 50-year career politician. But you know who needs to be more truthful? All of us. And stop pretending that Joe Biden is somehow this transparent, honest president leading with a vision, this amazing vision to take America in transformational change. Just stop it. Just end it. It's not true. He's not transformational or visionary or a leader. And he lies just like Trump did, and he's not transparent, just like Trump wasn't, and he continues to lie, and he continues to blame everyone else, and nothing's his fault, no matter what the problem is, whether it's the budget stuff, not getting his own, party lined up, what happened in Afghanistan, the crisis at the border. None of it's his fault. It's always outside. It's Trump's fault or something else. Let's stop lying about that. Forget what party you're in. If you were on the left, you didn't have a problem pointing it out with Trump. If you're on the right, you probably did. And now the roles have reversed. Now, if you're on the right, you can point out with Biden. If you're on the left, you can't. We need to stop lying to ourselves about it and start being honest about who our leaders are, whatever their party. And then ask for, expect, and vote for, and not settle for anything less, but better. I'm Rob Nelson. Thanks for watching.